Welcome back to the Desk Talk Podcast with your hosts, Trent Werner and Alex Magala, bringing you weekly episodes talking business, personal development, and all things real estate. Let's do it!
We're recording.
Welcome back to the desk. Let's talk about the current real estate market.
That's why Trent doesn't sing, and he's a realtor.
You know, I was under the impression that if you got voice lessons, anyone could be decent at singing. I did mixed chorus in high school for one semester, freshman year, as part of the rotation for the arts department. And I guarantee you that I could not be a good singer ever.
I refused and played instruments. I was always straight to the instrument route.
We actually had to get up in front of the class as an assignment and sing two songs, like the Jesuit whatever song and then the whatever song for the school.
They had to get in front of so many people every time. And if you were a guy or a girl, like you had certain like octaves to sing at. Like, yeah. That wasn't my wave.
No.
Anyways,
what's the current real estate market like?
Horrible.
Well,
it's not horrible.
It depends on how you look at it.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's mentally draining, that's for sure.
Exhausting.
Yeah, and you gotta be ready to fight through the trenches. Everyone is out there fighting, and if you're not ready, then you're probably not likely going to get a house.
I would say the current real estate market is a great lesson on handling rejection and fighting through adversity, overcoming obstacles until the one finally hits and it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, I mean, at least most of the time, well, maybe I guess you've made it blunt on me, but out of the 16-plus offers that we sent in, most of them I've already known that it's just like, it's a kiss in the dark, but the heartbreak isn't that hard. There was one that was like a little heartbreak, but it's kind of just, I mean, most of these we're not even seeing in person until hopefully we get an accepted offer. And so someone was telling me that in 4 hours they had 44 showings scheduled after putting the house on the market. And it's just like the window to get there is from 6:15 to like 6:30, or they've literally a 15-minute window to go in and view the house. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, no, thank you. I don't even want to be a part of that.
I feel like right now you have to, especially for you, where you know it's not going to be your forever home. It's going to be, you're basically first step in your rental portfolio, the way you
Correct.
Look at it, right? And so for you, I feel like it's a good plan to kind of throw a bunch of paint at the wall and see what sticks. And then there's obviously going to be those certain properties that you get a little bit more aggressive on and really try to win it. And then if you get it, fantastic. If not, well, you still understand it's competitive and someone's just doing something not financially smart. If they beat you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, most of these offers that people are seeing out here are bonkers. If they aren't waiving their appraisal, most of the time these offers aren't even going to appraise, so it's going to have to come back to the table of negotiation. But most of these offers are so over asking, they're waiving that appraisal, where basically they're saying, if it doesn't appraise, we'll meet that difference. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And that's literally like could be $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 extra that they have to put into that property. And so it's just, it's not financially smart in my eyes to do that. And then on top of it, once one house in that neighborhood gets that kind of value, all the other owners are going to start to think like, okay, well, maybe, and then they can list it and finally get maybe 10 over and get the value. So it's just going to start to kind of create like a wildfire to people in the neighborhoods that are getting these ridiculous over-appraised homes.
Mm-hmm. So just to touch on that real quick, when a house is in contract and it's being financed with a loan, an appraisal is done, and that is basically what the bank will lend on. And so if you have a offer price that's $100,000 over asking, let's say it's worth 500, but you offer 600, and the appraiser comes in and says, okay, it's worth 500. You have to cover that $100,000 difference cash. The bank won't
lend on it.
Yeah.
No.
So that's why, there could be some instances of appraisal shortfalls where maybe the buyer just can't do it, and
well, that's why
a good agent or something.
A lot of these homes they're still in my save history because they could fall off, and it simply just means that this buyer came in, offered a ridiculous amount of money just to kind of get it, secure the accepted offer, didn't appraise, and now they walked. And And that's likely how it's going to be with a lot of these that aren't all cash and they're waiving that kind of appraisal where it's just like no matter what, we'll meet it.
Yeah. And I've heard stories from other agents in my office and on deals that we've written offers on where one of my buddies wrote an offer that was like $100,000 over asking and got beat. I know another one that was 65 over asking and got beat. I know one that was full appraisal, contingency waiver, releasing earnest money, a 2-month rent back for the sellers. Just you can't compete with some of these offers. And at some point, you have to start thinking, okay, is it a pump? Is it a hype? Is it a meme stock? Is it, GameStop, AMC, all these things where it's kind of fake? Or is the supply really that low and the demand really that high, and it's just a law of economic just force driving the prices up?
And it is 100% that. It's purely supply is so short, and like the demand is actually real. There's so many pre-approved borrowers out there with killer interest rates trying to get into a home, trying to start their future. And on top of that, you add in a ton of millennials who are buying a house, throw on all the people that just experienced COVID and were like, my condo, my townhouse, whatever they're in, it's too small for us. Let's upgrade. So now you have all these kind of level up buyers too that are competing and have a little bit more power compared to a first time home buyer. So it's brutal out there, and I feel for everyone that's buying right now. And it's kind of just the battle of sticking your head down and getting through it, knowing eventually you will find something. I mean, there's going to be someone out there who has an off-market property that is willing to sell it if the price is right, and you're trying to close quickly and they're trying to close quickly. I mean, that's the name of the game. There's investors out there who have single-family houses and probably likely ready to get them off their hands if the price is right. So it's just like finding those and making a strong offer and just being like, let me take it off your hands.
Yeah, and there's definitely inventory in the condo market. I will say that. Do you think that we've ever had a time in history with the number of people in the age buying, or the home buying age range, I should say? Because it feels like you have millennials that are buying houses now. You have the people that are in the 30s, 40s, maybe they're having more kids, whatever, they need to upgrade. You also have all the baby boomers that are downsizing or adding a second home.
Yep,
it's just
where their kids are.
All four really main age ranges minus, kids.
I mean, it's getting younger and younger and younger because there's also the fact that there's so many people out there that can help their kids, like co-signing, helping with down payment. Yep. I mean, there's just so many ways that people can assist to kind of expedite the process. There's parents out there that understand renting is horrible. They're going to let their kid do it for a year or two, and then they're going to make sure that their kid's in a home and secured because they can help them. And it's just like, it's kind of expediting their future, knowing like, okay, I'm helping them one step at a time. And that's adding on to kind of the fuel. And then you throw on all these other things that are kind of in the media saying you're going to get a big tax credit as first-time buyer. It's just like we're pouring fuel on a fire that's already burning really hot. And until we get supply, which, I mean, we're going to have kind of that foreclosure wave from forbearance, but forbearance was extended. I mean, there's just so many things in place where I don't see a cool down to this market for a long time.
Two things. The supply issue. It's going to come down to builders being able to pump out new housing, right? And for the last 5-7 years, all we've seen is this small, jam-packed housing, townhomes, condos, or just, you're throwing vertical homes on these small lots, right?
Or even tiny homes. That was a big
or
crave.
Tiny homes. The problem here is we don't have that much land in the greater Portland area without really adjusting urban growth boundaries to make populations more dense in certain areas. That's problem one in the Portland metro area. Two, depending on what municipality you're working in, permitting, zoning, all that stuff can be really expensive and tedious one main county here, and 3, is there enough laborers and people to keep up with the demand?
Yeah, I mean, 4, tack on COVID literally killing the lumber and everything, like transportation costs. You go into Home Depot, it's expensive. So builders right now are like, not until 2022, not until 20. I mean, you go in and look at a brand new build and ask them when it's going to be done. It's not this year. And it's because it's so costly. You're going to pay for it to get done this year, or you're going to wait and get it a little bit cheaper.
And the material costs going up now drives the home prices up, which are already being driven up by a supply and demand situation. And my other thing that I wanted to talk about was what you said about the parents being able to help their kids. To me, I think there's people, and typically the parents that will help their kids are in a higher bracket, and they know what they're talking about financially, right?
They've set themselves up a good financial future.
Yeah, and they take pride in their financial future, right? So the parents that are willing to help kids are probably something like that. And I think they are realizing that it's, minimum wage is not going up for a lot of people. Cost of living is definitely going up. Housing is more expensive. Rent's going up, all these things. And the parents see that. And if they can help their kid get into a house earlier, they have it from experience where they got into a house back in the day. It might have been at a 10% interest rate, but it was $100,000. And they know what it's done for their future. And so now, instead of paying $2,000 a month in rent for a condo, they said, hey, let's just go help you buy a house and start your financial path. It's almost like that book that we talked about in the book club, The Simple Path to Wealth, where the dad wrote this book to create a plan that his daughter, who wasn't that into finances, could follow.
Yeah.
And so the parents helping their kids buy a house, it's almost like they're taking a step on the simple path to wealth, because real estate's going to appreciate, and it gives their kid a place to live, and their kid takes pride in it, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so it's almost like they're starting that kind of financial thought process and journey for their kids while helping them out with a place to live.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously for the people that are kind of in that elite bracket, it's always been a little bit different. But for generations, you've seen people kind of start with nothing and slowly build and build and build and build. And it's like each generation, it's kind of the duty to keep it going and make sure that you're helping them out and getting them to the next level. And so it's like, if my parents kind of got their way through college, your parents are here to help you out with college and kind of help you out the home. And it's like, my next steps for my kids are like to make sure that after the home, like what else is there to help you out with, to ensure, so it's just like, it's going to kind of continue to level up for each generation. There's going to be more of a task for you to instill this in your kids and make sure that, you're leaving that legacy. And it's just that next piece for, I think, our parents and for people kind of right under our parents with some kids. It's like, okay, let's start getting properties and making sure that they're set up. I mean, I know plenty of people that have young kids and are already buying a property, making it a rental for now, and know that, long term it's going to be put in the kid's name and that's going to be their first property. That's kind of what I want to do, is like college funds. Yeah, well, how about a house that's going to appreciate and we're going to put your rental income in there? And so it's just like plan for that. You start to kind of help each person grow, and it started way back when they had nothing. So
yeah, and down the road, if you buy a property early enough, you could leverage some of the equity to pay for college if you needed to with a cash out refi.
Teach your kid at 18, like, hey, he's had all this rental income. You put it all in your kid's name and make sure. So it's like you're setting it up early, and then, hey, you could either pull cash out for college, or you've learned that, do you need college? What do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Hopefully you teach them beforehand that whatever route that they want to take, you've got a house to kind of pay for it.
Yeah, and I have a client that buys multiple houses, and her thought process was, we talked about it one time, she was saying, if my kids need a place to stay in the future, like, I'll have plenty of places for them to stay if they need it. And so, now that I don't have kids, I'm not really thinking about, oh yeah, kids staying in my rental properties, whatever. But that was a cool thought process from someone that does have kids, hearing someone say, yeah, I have 6 properties, and if one of my kids needs one, and I have a vacancy, boom, we can move them in there, or we can get the tenants out, whatever they need to do.
Or it's like they own it, and it's, hey, like I bought this house, and I'm going to sell it to my kid at like what I bought it for, and give them gift of equity. Mm-hmm. It's like there's so many people out there that could do that, and it's, you know, rental property until you're going to give it to your kid or sell it to your kid. So it's just you're kind of expediting that growth process a lot faster, which obviously adds to this fuel of a market where everyone's kind of involved. I mean, it goes back to knowing your competition. A lot of the things that we've talked about that can kind of help yourself out, being pre-approved, everything. But obviously, there's still going to be a fight. There's a dog fight. And if you're not ready to kind of fight that, then you might be sitting there renting for a little bit longer, waiting for kind of all the hungry dogs out there to park their butts at home.
If you really think about it this way too, let's take two scenarios here. First scenario is you have a person that wants three scenarios. We're going to have three scenarios. First one, you have a 18-year-old person, and they're getting ready to go to school because they think everyone else goes to college. That's the thing to do. They don't have help from, you know, outside
direction. They don't have no direction.
Yeah, and so they take out loans, they go to 4 years of school, graduate, and get whatever job they get, right? So now they have 4 years of schooling loans that they have to pay back, and then they go right into the workforce where they probably aren't going to get the highest paying job, and then they're paying rent, loans, all that good stuff. So that's scenario one. Scenario two is an 18-year-old that says, hey, I'm not necessarily going to go to school. I don't think that's what I want to do. Maybe they go to trade school, plumber, electrician, go right into the workforce, whatever it is. Basically, they're going to go right into the workforce. They don't have student loans. And then scenario three is the 18-year-old that the parents are going to help them pay for college. So they're not going to have any loans after school. And, you know, they're going to want their kids to be on that financial path. So they might co-sign on a house, or maybe they have a property that they can kind of privately sell to their kids, whatever it may be. If you think about the different scenarios here, scenario one, where you have 4 years of student debt, or 5, depending on how long it takes, and you're going into the workforce afterwards, you're getting in late, you don't have as much time accumulating cash, and you have rent, all this stuff, it's going to be years before this person is able to qualify for a home and get their student debt paid off, all that good stuff. Where scenario two, like I have friends that went straight into the plumbing trade, the electrician trade. These dudes make like $90,000 a year, 2 years out of high school because they have to go to trade school, and they don't have any debt. Like all these people own homes.
Oh yeah.
And then you have scenario three, which is obviously going to be, you know, the least path of resistance, where, you know, they're pretty much set up. So if you're comparing one and two,
growing up, did you trade school kind of everyone talked down upon those trades? I mean, plumbers, electricians, like it wasn't like it was a hyped up, going to be cool, this is what it's going to make you rich and yada, yada, yada. It was talked down upon. And then to go through college and come out and like look at buddies who have been making 100, 125 steady, they're union, they're going to have killer pension. It's just like, holy crap. Like,
why didn't I do that?
Yeah. Like, wait, what? So it's just like, it kind of, your mindset, you learn new things and it changes, and there's different careers for everyone out there, and there's a way, no matter what, there's a way to it. And sometimes trying to follow society, taking on a ton of debt. I mean, literally I see the Instagram posts all the time. It's like the debt trap, and where it's like literally, you know, as soon as you get out of high school, it's, you know, $30K in debt for college, and then a mortgage, and then, you know, a car. And it's like by the time you're 4 years out of college, you've got like $300,000, $400,000 in debt, and it's like the big debt trap. Like, don't follow society, don't do what they say you do. It's like, I get it to an extent, but there's certain things where, you know, going out and getting a mortgage is likely good for you. So everyone's different, but in this market, it's kind of a dog-eat-dog world, and you got to find a way to stand out, get creative, that's for sure. And obviously, okay, you can't get too creative when you have these ridiculous offers in, but don't get hung up on that house. Don't fall in love before it's accepted. I think that's a big piece of advice. Look at it. If it's nice, throw an offer in. If it gets accepted, fall in love.
And no, your offer price is your offer price, and if someone pays more, then you ran your numbers. You understand what your value is of the property. That other person just has different numbers, or their numbers might be incorrect in some instances.
They were a little drunk writing their number, whatever it is. But
to be honest, I don't know how we went from the current real estate market to talking about the different setup for young individuals and their financial future.
Your second point brought a huge tangent.
I will apologize about my second
helping
point.
people get on the loan.
Yeah.
But it does. It just adds fuel to the fire, and it's going to only keep getting worse as we keep moving on through this market. But buckle up. You're in for a ride.
If you're a seller, it's a good time. It is a lot of work,
Facts.
though, because you have to sift through 18 offers, and
Facts.
that takes time.
But where are you going to go if you sell your house?
Yeah.
Think about that. That's a big thing. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'll sell it. I'm going to get the top dollar. Where are you going to go?
Exactly. Trade school is cool. We're at the desk. We're done talking. We'll see you next week. Adios.
Peace. That's the end of today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. It truly means a lot to us. If you haven't already, please subscribe and share this with friends. This helps fuel the podcast and gets more and more guests on our show. Hey, go follow us on Instagram as well. Desk Talk Podcast. Go connect with Trent and I as well. We're on Instagram too, LinkedIn, you name it. Stay tuned for more episodes. Peace.